The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Happy holidays, and welcome to our very last Swiftpage training for the year. I can't believe it. We've had something like close to 30 training classes this year. It's amazing. So thank you all for supporting us. We have had some great feedback. We're going to continue the series next year. This is Lori Feldman. I'm known as the Database Diva, and with me is Todd Vio, our VP of Technology. Todd, say hi.
Hi.
And today is one of my favorite topics because it is how to create lead capture web forms for your website and bring in more leads and then put people on a drip marketing campaign to nurture them over time until they ask you questions or become a customer. And if you are interested in capturing more leads from visitors to your website, this is the class that will teach you how to do that. There's a stat that says only 4% of website visitors who come to your site are ready to buy now. So that means the other 96% are just browsing or price shopping. So if they don't see something that keeps them on your site, then they're off, and it's only a simple click to another website to find the exact same thing that you offer, or in their minds, the exact same thing that you offer. And if that website does a little bit better job of getting them to stick, then you've lost that opportunity. So if you can get them to your website in the first place, and you have more lead capture forms on your site offering different freebie things, chance to meet with you one-on-one, sign up for your newsletter, those kinds of things, it gives you an opportunity to continue the conversation with them and find out what it is that what is their problem, how can you solve it, how can you help them understand their situation better, and get them to be comfortable coming on your site as a general place for information on that problem that they're having. So what we're going to do today is kind of walk you through a tutorial. This is unlike a lot of the other ones where we do a lot of slides. Todd's going to actually go live onto our Swiftpage account and show you how to go start to finish. So everything is being recorded. You will automatically receive a copy of the recording tomorrow, and then it becomes part of your arsenal for going back and listening to the parts that you don't quite understand once you're getting ready to sit down and do this. In fact, with the holidays coming up, strongly, strongly advise that you take a little bit of time on your time off after the presents and the holiday cheer is over and set up some more web forms on your site so that you can really get a lot more leads coming into your business next year. So, Todd, let's do our agenda really quick. So here are all the things that we're going to cover today. How to create the form in your Swiftpage account. This is part of your Swiftpage subscription, by the way. It doesn't cost anything extra to do what we're going to show you how to do if you've already got a Swiftpage account. We're going to then show you how to map and import your form submissions into your ACT database, how to set up an email so that you are alerted every time someone completes a form submission, and how you can also send your recipient an autoresponder immediately. As soon as they fill out the submission, they'll instantly get a thank you or whatever you want to put on there. There's also a way to start all of these new prospects on a drip marketing campaign, and then once you've imported that lead back into ACT, you want to be able to set up a dynamic group so that those leads are getting funneled to an easy place for you to find them, so you can follow up with them if that's what you choose to do. And then we have a special offer for our drip marketing camp, which is coming up in January, and that is a deep dive into how to set up your own drip marketing campaign that we do as part of a do-it-yourself professional oversight and helping you along the way. It's a 6-week course. I'll tell you more about it later, but it's we've had some amazing graduates from that, and I would encourage you to think about coming to that if drip marketing is something you'd also like to do next year. So Todd, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So we're going to start with creating the form itself. So Swiftpage has this, they call it surveys, but same thing, surveys and forms. So you can create the form, then once the form is created, Swiftpage is going to host it for you. So on your website, if somebody was to click on something to fill out a form, you can just have it redirect right to Swiftpage. They fill out the form on Swiftpage, and then Swiftpage redirects it right back to your website. You can even customize the back end. I'll show you a little bit of that. Customize it to get as close to the look and feel of your website. It won't be exact, but it'll get you pretty close. And then once you do that, you'll have the, it'll just go there, they fill out the form, redirects it back. So I'll show you how to do all that, show you how to get that set up within your Swiftpage account. One other thing when we get to importing submissions into ACTS, Swiftpage, while it does give you the web forms as part of your subscription, in order to be able to download them back into your ACT database, you do need to have the Pro or Team version of Swiftpage to be able to do that. Otherwise, it will just capture that information and give it to you in a spreadsheet form, which you can then download and import into ACT. But if you want it to download and import directly into ACT, you do need to have the Pro version of Swiftpage, the Swiftpage account, or the Team version. So, okay, so we're going to start with creating the form. So I'm going to switch over to my ACT database. I'm going to click on the Swiftpage icon. This is how I log into Swiftpage, whether I'm getting into the forms or anything. I just click here, go to, it doesn't really matter what template it is, edit the template, and then exit out of that. So I just edit template. It opens up my Swiftpage account. And then I immediately exit that and get out. So I go back to my home screen and the home button up here. That's how I navigate. You can go to Swiftpage Connect and log in directly there if you prefer, but it really doesn't matter as long as you get to your Swiftpage home screen. This is where we want to start. We're going to click on Surveys. And there's buttons here at the top of the screen. So I always start farthest left, and then I just work my way across to the right-hand side. So the last two are actually here where you're viewing the responses, where people have entered something. So, but the first three are where you're setting it up. So you're creating the form. So you can see this is a survey that we have, and we've kind of customized the back so it has has our logo in it, and just kind of give it a little bit of a look and feel of our website. So when somebody is directed to this and filling it out, it doesn't appear as though they're completely going to another site, even though they are, and then being redirected back. So we want to get as close as we can. But if I click on the Survey Management button, this is actually the screen that it takes me to. I can then create a new survey or web form. I can switch to one that's already that I've already been working on, or I can rename the one I'm on or delete it. So I'm going to create a new one, and ask you for a name. Our naming convention that we use for all of this is we put web form in front of the name. So if we do actually have surveys that we're putting into emails, we would call those surveys and then the name. So that just kind of keeps everything consistent and grouped together. So I give it a web form, web form, and name, whatever name you want to give it. So this is often the page that it's on. We'll give it that name. So if it were a download, we maybe give it the name of the download. So whatever it is, whatever page it's on, we give it the name, and then we can choose to copy another template, or another form. So if we have all these web forms, you can see all of our web forms. Here's our webinars, and then here's our web forms here. So these are all the forms that are on our website. So I can choose one. If I've already set one up, I can choose to copy one, and we'll just create one. Actually, we'll do the one that we're currently on. So we'll copy it. Well, we'll do the blueprint. So if I copy this, it's going to copy all the questions, so that way I don't have to reset everything up, although I will just show you how it's done. But I submit that, and it created a new survey. You can see which current survey you are on right up here at the top. So this is showing me the survey that I'm currently on. I can test it, so I can actually see what it's going to look like on the website. If I click that, this is what ours looks like on the website. So I can go in and modify that if I want to. I'm going to do that next. But as I'm scrolling down, I can also see what is currently activated. So right now, an autoresponder is activated, so which is an email that goes out immediately after filling out the form. The drip marketing is on, and the ACT update. So this will download into our ACT database. And then this is the redirect page. So on the survey management tab, though, essentially what you're doing is you're going to create a new campaign or a new form. So we're creating that here, or we're switching over to one that we've been working on. That's essentially all you're doing on this management side. So we're starting that form. The main part of this is the design. So if I click on the survey design, here is where I can go in and modify the questions that I'm asking. I can change the title. This is the title right here. So I can change that. I can also change the instructions. Here are the instructions that are currently on this form. I can change the background page and the display settings. So let's go into the questions, and I'm going to edit the questions that I currently have. This shows the list of all of the questions that are currently being shown on the form. I can then here change the order. There's arrows where I can move the fields up and down. So I can shift, I just click on it. It's pushing the last name down, or I can move it back up. So I can add new questions. So if I want to add one, I click the Add New Question. And let's do phone number. I think that was already on there, but we'll do it anyway. So here's phone number, and it asks you what type of field is this. So we have, the majority of them are short fill in the blanks. That's where they're just going to key in the information. So in this case, that's what the phone number would be. So I'd choose short fill in the blank. If I do fill in the blank, that is a text box like this one here, where they can add a lot of information. So put in an answer to a long question or something like that. So you could put in multiple sentences in for a fill in the blank, where short fill in the blank is just one line where they just fill in the, I think it holds up to like 50 characters or something like that. Yes, no, that'd be a little checkbox. True, false, same thing. I don't know what the difference is actually between the yes, no, and true, false. Checkbox, where you could have multiple selections, but you can only choose one. That's down here, actually multiple choice down here as well. So there's a rating system. So we don't use these too much. Majority of what we use is short fill in the blank, maybe the yes, no, and then the multiple choice, where the multiple choice is you can have up to 10 answers, and they can choose either one. Multiple choice means they have to choose just one, or all that apply means they can choose as many as they want to. So that's the difference between those two. And then here's a state listing. It's a just drop-down list with all the states, and one with all the countries. So if you want to have state or country, you can choose those. So we're going to choose short fill in the blank. We're going to leave the default answer blank. So the default answer would be it fills in a value into the field where they can just leave that or override it. And then here's a additional question that you can ask to go right above it if you want to put an additional question in there. We'll leave that blank here in this case too. So I'd submit that. It actually blanks out the screen, but it added it to my list of questions. So I am going to go back to my edit button. There's edit right up here at the top. So anytime you see edit, it takes you to this screen where you're listing all the different fields. And here it added my phone field at the bottom. And now I would just move it back up the line up here. There we go. And I already have one in there, so I'm actually just going to delete that. Well, I'll leave this one, and I'll delete the other one. So the nice thing about having forms that you've already created before, you can just copy those and then edit them as you need to. So I've created the phone form. I'm going to delete this one since we don't need two of them. So I've created the phone form, and now you can see the little check boxes over here on the left. If I want it to be required, I can check that. So now it's required. They cannot submit the form without filling in that field. And then the side-by-side, let me preview this so you can see what that looks like. So without the side-by-side, it puts the field below it. Side-by-side is going to put it off to the right of it. So we want all of these to be side-by-side. So I'm going to go back, edit, and I'm going to check that. And now if we look at the preview, you can see it's all lined up here nice over on the on each side of it. So that's the adding a field, customizing it to make it look how you want it on the form. You can add additional fields. So we can look down here below. We don't have any multiple choice, but let me show you multiple choice. So if we do, when is the best time to contact you? So I can ask my question here. I can go down and put select multiple choice. In this case, I'm going to do all that apply. So they can choose any the values that I put below. So and it says you'll be prompted for the answers. So I don't put the answers on this screen. When I submit, it will then ask me for the answers. So we'll put morning, afternoon, evening. Submit that. So you can have up to 10. Now let's go look at that. So we preview that. And that's what it looks like. So when is the best time to contact you? Because I chose all that apply, that means they can choose every single one of those. If I would have chose just multiple choice, it would have been a radio button where you can only choose one, and as soon as I choose the other one, it removes the previous one. So very simple. I can add as many questions there as I want, so that would be where you would put your qualifying questions as well. Lori, do you want to talk about qualifying questions?
Yep. When you put your form up, it's always a good idea to try to find out who are these people or where did they come from. So how did you hear about us is a good one if you're doing website marketing, but if your submission is coming in through AdWords, for example, you could pre-code the form to show that it came from that without and use it as a hidden field. So if
I'll show you that in just a minute.
Yeah, sorry, Todd. So if you know where your leads are going to come from because you're doing marketing specifically that's going to drive them to that form, you don't need to ask a qualifying question about that. Otherwise, for example, if it's a newsletter sign up, you may want to know how people heard about you, and giving them a choice in a drop-down is a good way. Anytime you can have people check a box instead of fill something out, that's going to be more likely a field that they'll fill in. You want to avoid asking too many questions. You don't want forms that are like 15 questions long. Nobody's going to do that at the prospect level. They may do it when they're a little bit further down the funnel, the sales funnel. But initially, some of the questions that we have asked is, like my favorite one, what is your biggest challenge, problem, concern about blah, whatever it is that your company is about. Asking an open-ended question. If they're there shopping, if they're there about to fill out a form, they're likely going to tell you that if it's a big enough problem, and that gives you a guideline on how to follow up with them. And that's not too sales threatening, as if they respond that they're going to have to buy something is their next step. So that's an open-ended one that I like. Another one is, let's see. When was the last time that you looked into blah? Just to see if this is something that they've been struggling with for a while, or is it a fairly new problem? So anything that you can do to ask, I wouldn't ask more than, if it's a prospecting form, I wouldn't ask more than one qualifying question. If it's a middle of the funnel or a bottom of the funnel kind of a form, then you can sometimes ask more questions. But You don't want to have too many open-ended ones, and you want to mostly have yes or no or multiple choice that they pick. Very few fill in the blanks would be my guidelines. If you guys want to ask me specific questions about your business and the kind of question that you could ask, I can think on that and give you some suggestions, but those are some high-level ones. Todd, back to you.
Okay. So for a lot of those, if you're asking, they would be multiple choice. So if you do multiple choice, that makes it easy to go back to your database and search for all of the contacts that answer that question in a specific manner. If you make it a fill in the blank where they can type in anything, really that's all that's going to be done is that'll be put into the notes, and then you're going to have to go just find that and read that. So if you want to be able to search and find all the people that answer the question a specific way, make that a multiple choice and make those values as, and you can set those values in the multiple choice so that when they're downloaded into ACT, you can easily do a lookup on all of the contacts that answer the question in a specific manner. Okay, so let's go back to the edit here. So I'm going to move this up a little one here. And I'm going to make that required as well. Okay, so we kind of have all of our fields in our list now. So let me show you a couple of things. You'll notice that we have this checkbox here that's hide from customer. So one of the things that we always want to do is be able to track which forms somebody fills out. So we use the referred by field in our database to track how where is somebody coming from. So if they come from our website, what form did they fill out on our website? So you may also create another field for that in your database too. You may have to have a separate one, because one thing about anything you download from Swiftpage is it does overwrite any values that are already in the database. So if you're using a field for something and you're downloading the information from a form on Swiftpage, you are going to override anything that's in that field. It will prompt you to ask you if you want to override it, so it's not just going to automatically do it. But if you choose to download that anyway, it will override any value that's in there. So if they fill out a form previous and you're always using referred by, it may overwrite. So what we also created another field in our database, and then we put all of our form codes in there. So and actually you can see that over here. It's called source code. So we have a source code field in our database, and that's where we're actually putting all of our values from anybody that filled out a form. So, but the way you do that, we don't want to ask them what form they're filling out, obviously. So we want to have the form automatically populate that field for us. So the way we did that was we added a new question. We called it whatever we want to call it, source code. We made it a short fill in the blank. And then what we did was we gave it a default value. So that way, every time they come to this form, it automatically pre-populates that question with this value. And we're also hiding it from the customer so that they can't see it. That way, it just automatically gets carried with the download information back into the database. So we give it a code. In our case, we always use the same name as the survey name. So it starts with web form and then has the name of the web form. So whatever you want to call it there, we use the same code for the code that comes back into the ACT database. So we're filling out this default value area with the code. Submit that. Now I go back to my edit button, where I get to my list, and there is my new field. I'm going to delete this one. Don't need both. So we have our new field, and we're going to hide it from the customer. So the customer doesn't see it, but it's going to automatically be filled in with the code that we're wanting to code the form with, which will then we're going to download that into our ACT database. And you can see when we create it over here, it's actually right now going to dump into the history. So we can choose fields. We'll choose those here in just a second where to put that information. So that's how we add the different fields to our form. Then up here at the top, we're still in the survey design area up here. So we have a title and instructions. So you can go in and you can fill all this information in. It shows you the preview below. So the title goes right here. So you can see it bold and centered in the top here. The instructions go right below it. Those are all paragraph form. And then we also have a footer. So if I scroll down the bottom, you can see a footer that goes right above the submit button. So this is where you could tell them what's going to happen after they submit the form. They give them instructions there. So we're telling them that we're going to actually mail them a copy of the blueprint, and so expect it in the mail in a few days.
Let me just jump in here too, because even though I just said don't ask a bunch of questions and don't ask a bunch of open-ended
Right here we are asking all these questions.
But this was a very special case because, and this is actually a good question. Robin kind of asked a question about this, so I want to talk about it. On my website, I offer a free drip marketing blueprint, and I've changed the way that I've done it over the years, but in the beginning, I just had it up there with nobody having to fill out anything, and I got tons of leads. Well, most of them were not qualified, and most of them were people just looking to take my stuff and use it on their own website. I found my form all over the web. So that didn't work. So then I started putting a lead form up where we would, I think the next thing was that we emailed it as an automatic response to, so that the link to get the download was in the autoresponder. So we did that for a while, and I still had the same problem, not as much, but I still had a problem with people putting in fake addresses, which I didn't understand because I couldn't get the download if they put in a fake address. But it was enough that it was annoying. It was more annoying than beneficial, so I wanted to change it again. So I went the complete opposite way, and I said, all right, if you want my free blueprint, which I do sell on my website for $77, then you have to give me, everything plus your firstborn in order to get it. And we did that for a while, and I was actually mailing the drip blueprint to them, snail mail, so they couldn't get it digitally anymore. And the leads went way down, but every single lead I got was very qualified. So I think that I've come to a middle ground now. We don't use this form anymore, but it's a good one for Todd to show for example purposes. But here's a fully loaded prospecting, lead generating web form that works very well, and you can see it's got everything in there that I'm telling you not to do. So asking all the contact information questions, as well as open-ended, not even fill in or check the box answers on the qualifying questions. But it still worked. It just really dialed down the results that we got. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're offering too. So if it's something that's very valuable that somebody's willing to put in a little bit more extra information to be able to get, that's essentially what this is. So plus we didn't want just anybody. Everybody saw a free download, and they're wanting that free download, whether they really actually wanted the download or not. It's just free, so everybody was going and filling that out. So this was to narrow that down a little bit more and get specific people that we really wanted to get. Okay, so so the title instructions. So this is where all that information goes, and then the display settings. Display settings is the color. If you want borders, if you want separators. So the color, the background color is currently white. Text color is black, and you can just type in the words here, or better is probably actually use the hex codes, and they give you the hex codes up here at the top. So black is all zeros, white is all F, so you just copy and paste them in. But if you want a separator in between each question, you can come here and you can choose different sizes. So if I choose 1 and submit that, you'll see it puts a line in between each question. So this is all or nothing. I can't choose one of just specific ones. It's either all of them or nothing. So I'm going to go back, take that back out.
Yeah, I'll also, before you move on to that, anywhere that there's a color in there, you can just put a color name, and that'll work too.
It's better to use the hex codes up here. So you can also do a Google search for RGB colors. So here it is right there, RGB colors. And then pull the hex code off of one of those sites that has it. It's more universal. So when you get into other countries, especially if you deal with around international, you may run into some issues with English words. So that might be an issue somewhere. But for most part, even the names work too. But hex codes, you're guaranteed to work for everybody. You can choose also the different font sizes, font family. You don't have a choice of any font family, but you can choose from the drop-down list here, and then the border and the border style. So you can choose any of that as well. So I'm going to submit that, get rid of my separator. And now that I'm happy with that, there's one more button here on the design. This is the background page. So when I click on that, it actually what it's asking for me is a template from my Swiftpage templates within my email templates. You can use one of your templates within there as a background for your surveys. So the only stipulation it shows you, it gives you the instructions right here, is the name of it has to have the survey BK in it. So you can, if I hit the drop-down list, you can see all of ours have survey BK in the name of them. So that's telling Swiftpage that that's a survey background. And wherever you want that survey to appear, you need to put this mail merge phrase in there, so key phrase. And that will tell it then to put the survey right in the into this template in that particular location. So that's how we got this banner on our survey. Is we added that banner to the template within our templates, named it Survey BK. You can see the Survey BK in the name of it, and then we put this mail merge right into that template, right below the banner, so that it filled in the rest of it with the survey information. So if you want to, you can customize it some. Now, obviously, you can't make it look exactly like your website doing it this way, but this would get it fairly close, so that, especially if you want to put your banner on it and maybe a few other things on the top of it, you can do that. And then just don't put any kind of links or anything. We want to keep this strictly the form, so don't put your navigation on there anywhere. Just your banner, and then put the survey mail merge feature in there, which it'll push that survey onto it. So that's how we got the banner onto our background. Okay, so that is the survey design tab. So that's the majority of what we do with setting up the survey. So we use a design to set it up. Then now the survey result options are next one over. This is telling Swiftpage what to do after somebody submits the form. So if I click on that, we have 4 different options here. First is the autoresponder email acknowledgement. So this is an email that will immediately be sent right back to the customer. As soon as they submit that email is sent right back to them. So that's part of the web form. We put that in here, and we tell it what to send back. So if you have a download, this is a lot of times where we're going to put a link to that download, and that way they have to give a valid email address in order to be able to receive that download. They have to get that email back. So we oftentimes will put the download in the email back. I'll show you where that goes in just a second. Here is if you want to start them on a drip marketing campaign. We're assuming that you already have a drip campaign set up. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this training session. But you need to have no, I just drew a blank. What type of, it's not the calendar, it's the duration. You need to have a duration campaign set up. So there's 3 different types of drip campaigns. There's a calendar one based on its calendar on a specific date on a calendar. But this is a duration campaign. Duration means it's based on the time somebody enters the campaign. So how many days from the day that they enter the campaign for each email that goes out. So it has to be a duration campaign, and it will start the date that they filled out this form. That'll be day 1. So the drip marketing campaign, you would select that. I'll show you that in a second. So all of these, as soon as I hit submit, the next pages is going to ask me to fill out all of the information for all of them. So we're going to do a database update. That will update our ACT database. And again, you need to have the Pro version of Swiftpage or Team version of Swiftpage to be able to access that. Otherwise, you won't have that as an option. But we're going to update our database. It gives us 2 options here, a list builder or list updater. And this is the idea behind it is, are people that are going to fill out this form people that are already in your database, or are they going to be new to your database? If they're going to be new, you're going to choose list builder. If they're already in your database, you're going to choose updater. However, there's a lot of times that is both. So it really doesn't make any difference because Swiftpage is automatically going to dedupe this for you. So based on email address. So if somebody fills out the form and their email already exists in ACT, it's going to then prompt you, do you just want to update this contact record? Or you can still add it as a new contact if you wish, but most of the time you're just going to allow it to update. So no matter which one you choose, it's still going to dedupe it and prompt you to update that record. So this one is not really that critical which one you choose. Now, then the survey landing page, this is the page that they're going to be redirected to after they fill out the form. So a thank you page, if you want to create a thank you page on your website, you can then redirect them back to the thank you page. You can also use a template within Swiftpage as well and just redirect them that, although I wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend you redirect them back to a thank you page on your website. So it can be just a generic one, thank you page that you use for all of your forms, however you want to do it, but redirect them back. That way they're back on your website. They don't even most of the time realize that they ever left your website, and then they can just continue on from there with whatever they were doing. So whenever you check the options that you choose here, when I submit, the next ones are going to walk me through what to do with each of those options. So I hit submit here. The first one's going to be the email acknowledgement. It asks me for a subject line, and then here is the email that's going to go back out. You will notice that this is text only. We don't really get to choose a template or anything like that. We're just strictly sending text back to them. And so this is a download. You can see the download here, and we just have to paste the entire URL in there. We can't make it look pretty with a HTML or anything like that. So it's strictly text. It's going to push that right back to them, and then that will happen immediately as soon as they submit the form. All right. Submit next. So the next one is the drip campaign. What drip campaign do you want? It's just a simply download or a drop-down list with listing all of your drip campaigns that are in your account. You select the one you want, hit submit. It's pretty easy, not much you got to do to that. And then this one. This one is the ACT link. So what fields do you want to populate from the questions that are within your survey? So a lot of times it's going to find them for you, so it will automatically find email and first name. So, but there's a drop-down list for each one of these, and it lists every single field that's in your current ACT database. So you hit that drop-down list, and you select the field that you want. So this is phone. So I'm going to go down, scroll down until I get the phone. And I'm going to select that. So that is connecting the field in the form to the field in your ACT database. So now Swiftpage knows whatever they fill out in this phone field on the survey goes into the phone field in ACT. So you just do that for all of the rest of them. At the top of the drop-down, there is the notes history. So every time somebody submits a form, when you download that into ACT, it's automatically going to create a history for that. Whether you have anything being dumped in the history or not, it's still going to create a history that says that that person submitted a form. So, but you can include some information from the form in that history if you wish by choosing history here, or you can put it in the notes, either one. You can also not record something if you want to as well. But these are going into the notes and history tabs of that contact record. So here we can see we set some that goes into history, others that go into notes. And then here's our source code that we have. This one, I'm going to hit the drop-down list here, and I'm going to choose source codes. So here's a field. This is a custom field that we created in our ACT database, and this is where we put all of the source codes. So we can see, in our case, it's only going to be the last one that they filled out, but we can see the last form that they filled out based on that source code. Because remember, it's going to overwrite the previous ones. So we select all of the different values for all of our different fields, submit that, and then here is our redirect, where we're going to redirect them to. So they can either go to a landing page within Swiftpage, or we can just do a URL, which is what we did here. We're redirecting to the blog. And that's it. So we process all three of those. It'll take us back to our main screen, and now we have everything set up with our form or what to do after somebody submits. And then our survey responses are just the values of people that have downloaded those. Okay. So I'm going to go back to our agenda here, see where we are. So we've created the form. We've mapped the form to our ACT database. I'm going to show you, we did the autoresponder email. We did the drip marketing campaign. So we've done all of those. I'm going to show you now how to import those back into your ACT database. Let me show you that. So I'm going to close out of my survey here. Go over here to ACT. So in ACT, I click the Swiftpage e-marketing icon. And now there's a survey tab right here. This will list all of our surveys that are in our account. I can scroll down, and if I look over here on the right, it shows me how many times somebody's filled that out. So I can see all of those, and I can see how many are still pending. So right here, for this brainstorm one, we had 5 people fill it out. 2 of them have yet to be downloaded into our database. That's what that means. So anywhere there's a 0, that means they've already all been downloaded. And here's the new customer blueprint that we were currently working on. We still have 32 waiting to be downloaded. So the way we download those, we click on and highlight it. We come down here. There's 2 different options depending on whether this is a list builder campaign or a list updater. You choose one or the other. So one of them is going to be available to click on. The other one's not, all depending on that. So this one, in this case, we're doing, we did a list builder. That one was, so add contacts to ACT. So it's assuming that they do not already exist in ACT, although it will still flag them if it does. So we click on that, and I'm not sure how far we can go before we get stuck here. This could take a little bit to process since we have 32 of them. So if you keep up with it, it goes fairly quickly. But if you wait too long and it builds up, it'll take a little bit of time to process all of that. So yeah, I thought that might take too long. So yeah, I did. No, I thought there was another screen after that I could get to. No, okay. So Lori's telling me it's going and downloading them now, so that's okay. So yeah, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll start that process and let it run overnight. Yeah, there we go. That's what I thought we'd get. Start that process, let it run overnight, and then we can come back in the morning. However, if it finds a duplicate, so which is what it's showing you right here, it found a duplicate already added in our database. So we can then choose what we want to do with that, and we can add it as a new contact. And let's see, what else can we do? So we add a new contact, we can ignore it, and we can, and this will kind of do this for all that it finds. So for the most part, you're just going to choose one of these 2. We don't want to We don't want to go in, or we want to be able to see each one of those. Now, if there's a lot of them, you may want to just do all of them and allow it to process.
Yeah, let me jump in on this one, because a duplicate isn't necessarily a bad thing in this case. A duplicate could actually be a good thing, because that means that somebody who filled out a form on your website is already in your database, and now they're interested in something. So that's good information, and a lot of times what we find is that people will, they may be in your database with one set of contact information, one email, and then when they fill out a form on your site, they now have a second email that they're giving you. And I know I do that personally. If I sign up for stuff, I use my Hotmail address, which is where all my junk goes. So I may not want to import that Hotmail address into ACT if I've got their real business address. So it's really a judgment call as you go through each of these downloads to see what do you want to sell, what do you want to keep, and what do you want to merge. And so if you want to do this in a quick way, my advice would be just to import the contact as a new record and then do your merging in ACT when you have time. So you're on purpose creating a duplicate record. Or if you know that you don't want to bring in any information, or you do want to bring in all the information that's coming in as the newer, updated information, then you can use Swiftpage to merge it together or overwrite, because this will overwrite whatever you have. Now, in our case, I am very, very anal about not wanting to override my original source data of where somebody came from. I always want to keep the original place that that contact came from. But I do want to know when they fill out a form. So Todd and I went back and forth with, how are we going to reconcile that? And that's why we ended up doing the web form on the source code as a separate field so that I didn't have to mess with my referred by. So those are just some tips as you go through this to decide how you want to handle it. Because when you're in this screen, you do have to decide something, and you may not be ready to decide. So in that case, I just go ahead and import the duplicates and then deal with them later when you can look at all the information that you've already collected in ACT.
Yeah, so in that case, you would hit this add this contact and all others, and it would just automatically add them all to the database. I think if I cancel this, no, you only got that one. So there apparently was only one duplicate in that whole thing, so all the rest of them it just added. So it went pretty fast. It just did the, or maybe I canceled it. That wasn't canceled. Okay, never mind. So, but if you process that, yeah, you may want to give it a little bit of time if there's a number of contacts to give you, because it will lock up your database during that time. You cannot access ACT while you're uploading that. And even if somebody else is using ACT on a different machine, we found that it tends to slow ACT down quite a bit because it's doing a lot of processing. So it's good to let that run overnight and then just come in the morning and it'll be complete for you. So again, that was Survey tab. Click on the survey and hit whichever one is available. So in this case, it's Add Contacts to ACT. If you had chose List Builder or List Updater, I'm sorry, this one would have been available. So this based on what value you chose earlier is to whether the List Builder, List Updater, which button is available. So you just choose whichever one is there. Okay, so that's how you download them into the ACT database. So then if we want to be emailed, have an email sent to us each time a recipient submits a form, we can have it automatically email us the results of that. So we get the results emailed to us, plus it'll be available to download into our ACT database. So if I go back to ACT, I'm going to go into my Swiftpage account. So again, I just do my edit template, and I exit out of that. So I get back to my home button. Okay, so that where that is, which you'd think it'd be under surveys, but it's not. It's over here under Edit User Profile. So if I click on Edit User Profile, I go to the Options tab up here. Right here is what happens when somebody submits a survey. So do you want a detailed email response every single time somebody submits it? You would check that. Or if you just want a daily summary for all the people that have submitted that day. At the end of the day, I think it comes at the end of the day, or maybe it comes the next morning for the previous day. But if you want a daily summary, it'll just give you a list of all of the contacts that have submitted that day. That's what this checkbox is for, or you can have both. So that's under your profile. So let me go back. So if I go back to the home button, that's under Edit User Profile over here on the right, Options, and then the Survey Notification Options right here, these two right here. Okay? Oops. So that's submit to. So the last thing that I'm going to show you here then, 10 minutes, okay, good. So the last thing I'm going to show you here is what to do in your ACT database so you can get a easy list of all of the contacts that have recently submitted a form and when they submitted and what they submitted. So I'm going to flip back to my ACT database here again. And remember, we created a field called source code that we were dumping in the values of the form, and you can actually see that it's right here. This is the source code field. So this has all the values of the form. Now, if it were referred by, if you use that, you can. We kind of changed that over the years too, so you can kind of see it has values in both. But whichever field you're using for your source code, you're going to want to know what that is, so that we're going to create a group. So I'm going to go here on my left, click on groups, and I'm going to do a new group. Give it a name. So this is form submissions or whatever you want to call it. So then we're going to go to the Contacts tab and click Add Remove Contacts. So there are two ways of adding contacts to a group. We can do it manually, but obviously we won't do that in this case. In this case, we want it to do it automatically for us. So as soon as somebody submits a form, they automatically get added to this group. So we're going to do dynamic members. I'm going to click Edit Criteria, and I'm going to choose, hit the letter S, go down to my source code, choose the source code field. The operator contains data, meaning it has something in it. Doesn't matter which field. Now, if I wanted to do a group for a specific form, I could do that. But in this case, I don't care what form they filled out. I want all of them completed or added to this group. So that means just as long as source code has a value in it, I want them added to this group. I add that to the list. Hit OK. And OK again. And here are all of the different contacts that have filled out something. Now I'm going to customize this list a little bit so that I can see that source code, see what field or what form that they filled out. So I right-click anywhere down on this, Customize Columns, and I'm going to again choose Source Code. So hit S, go down to Source Code. Oops, too far. Source code, double-click on it, move it across to the right, and I'm going to move it up just one, so I put it here next to my referred by. I also added the create date, so I have the create date in here, and I have their contact information to go with it. So the create date is useful. So here's my source code, so I can see when, see what field or what form that they filled out. But the create date is useful because I can sort on this. So if I click on that header there, and click on it twice so it sorts in descending order, I can see the contact that was filled, or that was when it was submitted last. So the most recent contact to submit my form that was in the database. So that was not in the database. So a new contact in my database that has most recently submitted the form. So I can see what form it is. I can grab that and make it a little bit bigger. I can see what form they submitted. I can see any other information I may have about them as well, and that was carried in from the form. Then I can just click on their name takes me to their record, and I can go and see any more information that I may have on that particular contact. So it makes it real nice to be able to pull all the contacts that have submitted a form, sort it by create date so I can see the contacts that have been recently added to the database, and then I can go to their contact record and view more information about what they may have filled out. So any of those qualifying questions I can go view on their contact record. Okay, I believe that's it. Lori, anything else? Okay. Okay.
All right, so for everybody on the call, we're offering $100 off on our drip marketing camp. We have been doing camp now for about 6 or 7 years. We offer, just to give you some background on it, we offer a 10-time money-back guarantee, which means if you invest in camp and you do everything that we tell you to do, we're editing you along the way, we're overseeing all of your content, all of your technical setup, everything, and you execute and you work on your drip, or you have your drip live for 12 months, and it doesn't return the value that you paid to be in camp, we will refund your money. If you don't, actually 10 times. You need to make 10 times the value of camp, or we refund your money. So for example, camp normally is $897 with $100 off. It'll be $797. If you don't make at least $7,900 within the next 12 months as a result of camp, we refund your money. It's that good. We have, by the way, never refunded anybody. So results usually happen pretty quickly. It takes, camp is about 6 weeks long. It includes 3 recorded lessons on kind of the basics of drip that I don't want to take group time to go over, but you can study on your own. And in between those recorded sessions, you have a homework assignment. We take you through step-by-step of the drip process. And then we also have live recorded calls with everybody who's in camp, sharing what they're doing, sharing their ideas. That's really been so beneficial, not only for our campers, but I've gotten great ideas for my own business out of it. It's really a kind of a mastermind effect that happens. And over the 6-week time frame, you're building out what you're going to say, to who you're going to say it, to the segmentation and dynamic groups the way that Todd just showed you here. And we figure out exactly what your messages are that you need to use to convert new prospects to customers, and how to follow up with them until they buy. So it's a very exciting experience to go through. If you are the least bit interested in drip, but you are clueless on how to start, you will learn the entire process, which then allows you to go on and create other drip marketing campaigns after you go through camp beyond the first one that we do together. So it's a good, solid foundation for best practices on what to do, and it'll impact your sales. It's really a revenue needle mover when it's implemented and deployed properly. And you can use your Swiftpage account. You can use any software that you have that can handle marketing automation. So I encourage you to look at it. If you want to do a free brainstorm session with me to talk about how it would work in your particular business, let me know. And otherwise, this is the link. And this will all go out in the recording as well, the links to the drip camp, as well as we didn't have a chance to get to. I've got a free lead capture web form offer ideas page that I'm putting up on our website, and you'll get a link to that for things that you can use your Swiftpage forms to create lead capture calls to action with, and then add drip marketing campaigns onto the back of those. So $100 off, $797, starts January 16th, I think. I'll double check on that. But the offer is only good through the end of the year. And that's all I have to say about that. So ask me any questions, or Todd, if you want him to recap something that we covered today. We'll take one more minute, and we won't be too much over. So thanks, everybody, for coming today. Very happy holidays to everybody. Happy New Year. We won't be back until January, but hope everybody has a happy season. Todd, questions?
don't think so. This is recorded, so I know I went through a ton of stuff today, so you will get a copy of it tomorrow. You can slow it back down, pause it, whatever you need to do to follow along. Robin asked if she has something that's off topic. Do you want her to ask that here?
Yeah, I just posted my phone number, Robin. Just call.
All right, I think that's it.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you.